really been a healing journey for me. I think I shared that first time around, but I was dealing with the grief of the loss of my mother. And so I shared several of those poems and some others, but I really want to thank Black Lawrence and the Lawrence Art Center for their support of this open mic. I think it's beneficial to all of us, and it's beneficial, I even think, to the community. I think there's ripples beyond this room when we bring our poetry to this space. So, last month I told the group that I have been hanging out with dead people. So I had a piece that I called 100 Citizens, and that was the only thing that I shared last month. So this month, you guys are in for it. Yeah. It's a theme this month, Mother's Day, mothers, people who care for us like mothers. I pulled out this picture this was my mother's last Mother's Day, and I pulled out the shirt, and it says, "Made with the love, strength, and resilience of my mother." And so our family all got shirts like this, and I think that speaks, for me, very true of who she was and what she did for not only me, but for our family. So, and also my search for genealogy, connections, and stories, I pulled this together because the first poem I'm going to read, and you may not be able to see it from there, but these are the mothers who came before me. So we start on this end: my mother, her mother, her mother, and her mother. So we have kind of 4 generations here of mothers. I think their lives I'm discovering as I do genealogical searching, found a crazy story on my grandmother's mother, and I may tell you that, and then I may not. So, first poem is, "To my mothers before me who stood strong." Mother's Day 2014. I am here because the amazing women before me stood strong when all seemed against them. I am here because one who dared to leave the South and come to a promised land in the middle of Kansas, leaving family and friends, Silas Showers stood strong. I am here because of one who dared to raise 12 children between 2 husbands, saw children and husbands die, but she stood long enough. Lula Americus Howard stood strong. I am here because of one who dared to out-survive 12 siblings for 105 years, to live with grace and dignity, beauty, and a song, even stealth in a nursing home. Dorothy Leota Hart stood strong. I am here because of one who dared to do things her own way, even if it meant dark, cold winter mornings in a truck on the way to clean Air Force barracks, or long walks with friends laughing at her when she knew education was the only way out. I am here because Peggy Jean Thompson stood strong. I am having a happy Mother's Day because my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and my great-great-grandmother stood strong. So everyone's mother, I say, for the most part, everyone considers your mother just special and you know, the be-all, end-all. And I have to say my mother was special. And so I'm continually trying to write things that relay that gives you an inkling of what her life was about. And so this one came to me this week, as a matter of fact. It's called Weather. She loved a good time. Whether or not she was living in her 3-room apartment, she had friends over for drinks and cards. She loved a good time. Whether or not it was a caroling party for her church youth group with homemade from scratch hot chocolate, or a poker party with her girls on the block with caprese salad and cheesecake. She loved a good time. Whether or not it was a reunion gathering with her childhood chums, or just a visit from friends in her nursing home room with fried chicken from Popeyes, she loved a good time. And the joke about the Popeyes chicken, because she was, anytime friends came over, she wanted to have food in her room. So, of course, she called me, you need to bring some chicken. So-and-so's coming over. So I ran to Popeyes, got the chicken, and I was coming in the door of the nursing home. And a little health aide said, "Ooh, I didn't know Popeyes delivers." And I'm like, whoa, I am not getting paid to deliver Popeyes chicken. In any event, that's that little joke on Popeyes chicken. My mother was a person who loved people, as you'll hear. And she loved people in her community, and she trusted them to look out and take care of her children if the need should arise. She trusted them to be there if her children needed them. Say she was at work and I needed a drink of water, she knew somebody on the block would give it to me. So I grew up with a little more freedom than some of my friends. You know, they had to kind of stay home and, you know, just went to their church. I went to everybody's churches. I went to everybody's vacation Bible school. I had that freedom, and as a result, I had lots of mothers. And so this is to the mothers of my village. I have not forgotten the lessons learned while I sat on the floor between your knees as you parted and twisted the strands of my hair into 2 neat plaits. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten the lessons learned as you spread the Miracle Whip on slices of soft white bread and laid slices of Smedley's pink bologna and cheese on my sandwich too. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten the lessons learned on your front porch as you sat in your chair shooing flies away, shared your life's wisdom with my 5-year-old self. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten the lessons learned as I followed you around your yard to water flowers you tended faithfully, naming each one while pulling weeds that threatened their existence. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten the lessons learned, the scolding and the spanking that you gave your son and me for childhood crimes we did commit when sneaking through the house we were told to play outside. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten the lessons learned while doing chores with your kids like your house was my own and the rewards were distributed equally and with a smile. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten lessons learned while sitting in your crowded house learning Bible verses from your well-used book. And you had us memorize Matthew 7 through 8. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten lessons learned. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. I have not forgotten the lessons learned as you opened your doors, fed me, clothed me, opened your minds, spoke to me, listened to me, opened your hearts, loved me, disciplined me. I have not forgotten the lessons learned from the mothers of my village. I'll skip this one. If you haven't, and I put this up a little late, on that white table, I left you a little gift. I want you to take one. You can go get one now, but be sure to take one with you because it goes with this poem I'm getting ready to read. And I'd like for you to have it. Maybe it's a handkerchief. Maybe it reminds you of someone in your family. The accessory. She kept one close in her pocket or purse, some with folded edges. Scalloped edges were my favorites, with small white threads. She kept one close for Sunday church, never an Easter without one, or the serious one for the homegoing service to hold her tears. She kept one close, a fancy lacy one for an occasional party where laughter, lipstick, and damp brows were lightly mocked. She kept one close, mostly white, a few with colored borders and flowers, some with lovely embroidery that my fingers loved to touch. She kept one close, as I do now, because her fingers once held it. And since I can no longer hold her, I hold her handkerchief instead. I'm tired, but I got a couple more and then I'm going to sit down. I thank you all for this opportunity to share. I call grieving situational insanity. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but I'm gonna bounce back here. When I went to do some research on the great-grandmother, because a friend of mine had found some unmarked graves in my hometown, and she wanted to mark those graves. She found names that I didn't recognize because I had never heard them spoken in my family. But the names belong to Lula. Lula buried her oldest daughter. She buried twin sons, and she buried a 3-day-old little girl. Now, I also discovered in doing my genealogy that Lula spent time at Topeka State Hospital, and I know why. I've lost a child. Situational insanity, I'm just gonna say that. I didn't end up at Topeka State Hospital, but your mind in grief goes all kind of directions, and sometimes it just shuts down. I don't know what her story was, but I do know those facts about her. So, that I jumped clean over. That has nothing to do with this poem I'm fixing to read to you. But I just had to throw it in there because I said I was going to tell you all to find some facts. As a matter of fact, here I go back again. This great-great-grandmother, I was told just this past week, spent some time at a mental institution in Kansas City. Now, she came here in 1879 to Kansas with Pat Singleton and her husband and several of her kids, but story goes on. Interesting. I often think, how did they survive? How did they come here and have nothing when they got here? Meaning they didn't have a house when they got here. There would maybe not be any roads or streets when they got here. There were no grocery stores when they got here. They were neighbors maybe, but possibly you were cordoned off in your own little neighborhood on the north side of the tracks. If anybody understands that. So I often wondered how you kept your mental when you had all of these situations in your life that you could not control, and yet you had to live on. They stood strong, even in spite of it. Okay, moving on. Sorry. I'm almost there. Okay. Stop laughing.
No apologies.
To my husband. Okay. I think I'm going to skip this one. One of the things I've had fun doing was, of course, as you see, photographs are my passion. is I've added some photographs of people in my life to the poem. So this page has like a dozen pictures of my mom and I together, different situations over years that goes with this poem. So it's a lot of fun. This is called Numbers. I read it, a couple of months back, but something about it just grabs me and I want to speak it again. I've looked back, counted how many birthdays I've been blessed to spend with you. Days before I knew what birthdays were until now, where I spend them without you. I've looked back at the flowers and balloons, cakes and gifts, all to celebrate you and your wonderful life filled with children, grandchildren, and friends who love you just as much as I. I've looked back, and now I look forward to the birthdays that I don't get to spend with you, 99, 100. But I will celebrate your birthday just the same anyway, because love is not a number. So Grandma Hart lived to be 105. My mom lived to be 98. She died a little young. Matter of fact, she died before her mother did. But she had a hard road to hoe. I'm still trying to get the count on her children, of the number of children she has. So the number of children that I knew were living were 12, and then we've just found 3 more. So that's 15, and then the oldest daughter that had died. So that's 16 kids. So, yeah. So this last poem, I have to read a poem to get you to the last poem. It's not a poem that I have written. It's a poem by Linda Ellis. And it's called The Dash Poem. Some of you may know if you've been to funerals, it gets mentioned at funerals, but I wanted to read this because for 2 years I wanted to write the poem that I'm going to read after this, and I couldn't get it written until this morning. And so it has this connection to the first poem I'm going to read. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger, and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect, and more often wear a smile, remember, this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? So yeah, that poem really, it just spoke to me. And I wanted to write a poem that spoke about my mother's dash. Just a little bit of it, because her life was so full and so long, I couldn't get it all in one poem. But this is called She Lived Her Dash. She lived her dash Whether it was her hilarious childhood encounter with Satchel Paige, a poem for another day, or her after-church Sunday luncheons with Brown v. Board lawyer Charles Scott, she lived her dash. She lived her dash when organizing the Black citizens in her community, or protest marching for a white citizen arrested in Alabama for his civil rights demonstration, or making her presence there when Julian Bond spoke. She lived her dash. She lived her dash while ensuring women had the opportunity for college when single parenting assured that they would not, or when organizing women across the community, different races, different religions, met for one day of unity. She lived her dash, and her world and our world was made better by her dash. Thank you.
Oh.